Hey, what is going on? What is going on? This is Mike Clark, War Team, Keys of Knowledge. Hey, we back at it, baby. Hey, another fire seminar going on today. Today, 3 to 5 o'clock, downtown City Library. I have the address. Give me 1 second. Let me give you the address. Make sure I have it here for you guys. So the address is 501 North Oregon Street, El Paso, Texas, 79901. Today is Sunday, so if you're downtown, there's no paying for the little toll, what is it, the little coin meters, parking meters, so you don't have to pay for that. That's the reason why I have it on a Sunday. My plan is to have one seminar a month. I'm hopefully going to be able to get another agent to come out with me. I'm going to next month. That way I can have someone translate this in Spanish, which is great. I want this information to be pushed out to everyone. I'm working on my Spanish. It's not all the way there yet. So, I have some time, a lot of time. I got to learn this, man. No more excuses, but it is what it is. So I want to make sure I'm passing this information to everyone. I'm going to briefly go through what I'm going to talk about today. So even if you can't make it, at least I'm giving you the information now, as well as when I get there on site to the library and I set up, I'm hoping to go ahead and live stream. That's the goal as well, to live stream this as well. And yeah, we're just going to jump right into it. So to avoid mortgage foreclosure. Now, this is different than property taxes. This is different than taxes, liens. All of those different things are a little different. We're talking about strictly not paying on your mortgage, your home going into foreclosure. What can you do before it's presented to the county coliseum on the first Tuesday every month? What can you do? Right? So this is the bulk of the content that we're going to be talking about, right? A little bit about myself. I do this in every seminar. What is a foreclosure? Let's define what a foreclosure is. The causes for a foreclosure. What are the real causes? What can get you into that situation? How to protect yourself. What are things you can do to protect yourself? That's another big piece that, I believe you're going to gain a lot of information from. So I'm also going to have a little bit of resources and assistance, tips to stay ahead, things you should think about. The role of your realtor. That's important, right? That's very, very important. That's why I want to host these classes and challenge anyone to just, definitely, you want to know that your realtor has that knowledge to give you past just buying a home. You want as much information as you could possibly get. And you want your realtor to be like almost a one-stop shop on understanding, city resources, state resources, everything that goes with the home buying process. And after the home buying process, what could you do? So, I want my clients to understand that if you're going through this process, if something ever happened, don't hesitate to give me a call. I would love the chance to actually help you in whatever situation you may be in, whether I have the answer or not. I have no problem looking for it for you. I have no problem plugging you into the proper resources. So that's what I want to become. I want to become that subject matter expert that people call on. And then last part is Q&A, call to action. What questions do you have for me, right? That's it. So once again, if you don't know me, my name is Michael James Clark III. That may not mean nothing to you, but it means something to me. That's why I always put it out there. I'm not just Michael James Clark, I'm the third, my father and my grandfather, man. Oh, I love them. But anyway, look, I'm a realtor, real estate investor, and financial educator. Also public speaker, man. I love doing this. It's getting me out there and, effectively what I'm trying to do is, like I said, promote financial education. I want to push out information that most people may not have been exposed to, and this is a great opportunity to do so, right? It's a way to give back. So I'm Michael James Clark III. I am originally from South Bend, Indiana. If you know where Notre Dame is, you know where South Bend, Indiana is, right? I'm based out here in El Paso, Texas. So that's the community I'm serving right now as a realtor. I'm serving the El Paso market. After serving in the military for about 8 years, I built a diverse real estate portfolio, man. I've done a lot of different things from tax sales, vacant lots, dealing with vacant lots, which I still have. Live and flip. I've done a live and flip. I went to a commercial property via 1031 exchange. We're going to have a class on all these different things at some point, some sort of workshop. And then I also did a duplex house hack. Now, mind you, listen, you're finna see guided by self-learning and YouTube University prior to getting my license. So I have made a lot of mistakes from YouTube University. However, the self-learning at YouTube University has at least motivated me to get started. So I will be honest with you, like some things I didn't have to do, like that 1031 exchange to get the next property. I don't believe I needed to do that. There's some tax sales that I've done in Indiana. There were some pieces that I believe I didn't have to do as well, because those properties I know didn't exchange hands. So I didn't need to do a title search for these properties, but I did it anyway. I kind of just wanted to learn the system and go through it. So that's a little bit about myself, right? My passion is sharing practical insights to help others with their financial freedom. Like, that's my biggest piece, man. If you don't know, if you haven't seen the economy or don't know what's going on around you, understand that, man, AI is coming. The job market everyone's hiring, but no one's really hiring. If you understand, you understand. And things are getting rough. It's getting tougher. So, in that, everybody's doing their day to day. Everyone's working for a weekend at this point, and we kind of put on the back burner because we're young, that we have time. And like our grandparents and great grandparents, they actually had to plan. They had to plan retirement accordingly, because you don't want to be a burden on your parents. You don't want to be a burden on your kids. You don't want to be a burden on anyone. You want to be able to take care of yourself financially. And real estate is a great catalyst on how to start that, how to move through and work on that piece, right? So let's define, what is a foreclosure? Think of a foreclosure as what happens when someone stops making payments. It's that simple. You purchased a home, you went through the whole home buying process, you finally purchased a home, you weren't able to make the first payment, second payment, maybe the third payment is when it gets initiated. Within that first, second time that you missed your payment, 9 times out of 10, you have been contacted by that financial institution. So that's normally what happens. Foreclosure is just a roundabout way to say, hey, you haven't been paying for it, right? So that's what a foreclosure is. Someone who stops making payment with the home, and the lender uses legal means to take back and sell the house so they can recoup what's owed. That's the whole issue right there. In Texas, including El Paso, of course, most home mortgages are tied to what's called a deed of trust. A trustee holds that deed, and for whatever reason, if you do not fulfill your obligations, that trustee will initiate the foreclosure, saying, "Hey, we need to take possessions back of this back of this deed, and we need to go ahead and get us a new owner because the previous owner is not fulfilling their requirements," right? So, which gives the third party, like I said, a trustee, the power to sell the property if certain conditions like the default occurs. This allows a non-judicial foreclosure, meaning we don't need to go to court. This is to happen automatically. The only proof that I need is that you've missed this many payments. Boom, that's it. We can initiate the foreclosure. Because it doesn't require a lawsuit, the process can move much faster in the state where court approval is needed. Let me tell you, man. Of course, the tax sale, or not even a foreclosure sale, happens on the first Tuesday of every month. So last Tuesday, it didn't happen because we were still in last month, just the way that things landed. But this Tuesday at the Coliseum at 10 o'clock, there will be another foreclosure auction. So remember, the first Tuesday every month, County Coliseum, just go down there. It can be intimidating. However, after you go to the first, second, third, hey, maybe you'll understand the concept after sitting there for about an hour or two. Because I promise you, it's just repetitive. You start to understand the system, you understand what's going on. And I always tell people, just do your homework if you do want to partake in the foreclosure auction. So what are the causes of foreclosure? Let's talk about that a little bit. So the first piece right here now is job loss or reduced income. Of course, I tell any of my clients, anybody that I know, friends, family, foe, anybody, buy within your means. Just because you got pre-approved for $300,000 does not mean you need to buy a $300,000 home. And I say that not just like whatever. I've done the same exact thing. I got approved for an amount. I say, you know what? I'm going to use that amount. And it's a lesson learned. I'm not doing it no more. All right. So you need to understand that you want to make sure that you have enough income that you could pay for this property with no issues. If something was to happen, or you did have reducing your hours at work, something happened, you had to move, whatever, you just want to make sure that you can pay for something and it's affordable. It's not breaking the bank. I'm looking behind me, man, because I'm still at an open house, so you guys are going to see me. I just want to get through this really quickly so I can let you guys know what's going to be happening at the library today. So also unexpected medical bills. I would also add death, man. I would add it. Anything that can happen in life will happen. So not having an emergency fund is definitely going to cause you to be in foreclosure, because if you can't pay that bill, you can't pay your mortgage, I promise you, it's not like a friend or family is loaning you this and they're going to hear what you got going on. And they're like, oh no, you don't have to worry about it. No. They will start the process immediately. The sooner the better, because you got to understand this is a business on the other end for the bank. The bank has to be profitable, and they're not in the business of holding homes. So immediately, once that particular buyer or that a homeowner cannot pay, they need to start the foreclosure process immediately, get it off their books. I would also add in here adjustable mortgage rates, right? Adjustable rate mortgage. If you don't know what that is, literally, I ran into this with my commercial property. I learned what an ARM was. I knew what it was, but this was my first time partaking in it. Most people find it beneficial to get an ARM because you get a lower interest rate, right? However, it fluctuates with the market and timing, which is crazy. And let me tell you. So you can get what's called an ARM, it's an adjustable rate mortgage. You'll be locked in maybe a 3-year term, 4-year term, 2-year term, whatever. And then it fluctuate and it will change. Your interest rate will change. So depending on how your financial institution created this loan package, that's how this will work. So say, for example, you bought a property for $100,000, you got an interest rate of 3% for the first 3 years. After that 3 years, that 3% can go up to 5%, 6%, or it can go down to 1%. It just depends on what's going on in that moment. So that could cause a foreclosure, because you could think about it, if you're comfortable up until those 3 years, and then boom, something happens drastically like what's going on now, government shutdown, that could rise, that could raise your interest rate. So that could, put a lot of people into foreclosure. So next, I would say rising property taxes, insurance, and other costs. This right here, I believe, has to be the most important piece that you could think about. If you're a new homeowner and you're looking to buy a new build, like I love new builds as well. There's a lot of beautiful homes, a lot of great incentives. But one of the things, and you can go on TikTok, social media, and you can hear people's real stories of this, buying properties, getting qualified for properties, of course, spending the full amount they were pre-approved for, and believing that they can afford it comfortably. Mind you, when you're going through a new build, you have to ask the question, the property tax, that's important. Has the property taxes been assessed in the area? Has the property taxes been assessed in the area of similar size? Meaning, what you may be assessed for right now is just a dirt lot, because the city hasn't had a chance, because they only do it once a year. They haven't had a chance to reevaluate that property from a dirt lot, which it was before, to an actual home now sitting on that property. So that could change dramatically. You're talking about maybe a $900 bill for the year to now you got a $300,000 home that could change to a $9,000, $10,000 bill. Of course, that changes your escrow, which that's the money you're paying, additional, in addition to your principal and interest. So I tell you, be careful with that. Ask those questions. If that is the case, make sure you can see estimated amounts of other properties that are fully built and has been assessed at that particular, because usually, your property taxes will fall around that. That's the way it's supposed to work. And if it doesn't, definitely, that's when you give a realtor a call, myself a call, and you challenge your property taxes. Don't just take what they say with a grain of salt. Fight it. You have rights. You can do certain things to protect yourself as well. Also, like I said, we're talking about escrow in this moment. We're talking about rising property taxes, insurance, and other costs. Insurance is another big one. making sure that your property is not in a flood zone, making sure that your property, and when you get this insurance, you find the right insurance company that's not changing your premium drastically every single year. Because I promise you, the state of Texas, if you haven't got that phone call, I know I've gotten that phone call where I'm being told, look, man, yes, you've never been in a car accident. Yes, you never filed a claim. However, there's a lot of claims going on through the state of Texas, which then at no fault of your own raises everyone's premium, which you have no control over. So I say that to say this: make sure that you're monitoring your insurance and you're calling yearly and you're going through, your line items and your deductible and understanding what's being protected. And then, call other companies and price match. These are times where you need to do that and stay on top of it. Next, I would say for the other causes of foreclosure could be underwater mortgage, negative equity. A great example of this would be COVID. People were paying over asking price for their properties. Now, you may say, Mike, that makes no sense. What does that have to do with foreclosure? Unfortunately, it's a psychological thing where you believe that, hey, my property's worth more than what it really is. My property's 100. I paid 200,000, maybe 50,000 over asking. It should be no big deal. My property should be now 300,000. It's not. You're behind. Matter of fact, the markets went down, and now, your $100,000 property is now 75,000. Whatever. But it's a mindset thing where people will legitimately in their head say, you know what? It's not worth paying on no more. I don't have no value in this home. Because it takes so long to gain value in a home, you may want to you need to really understand that piece. And then, like I said, that goes for new builds, that goes for purchasing secondary market properties. Just making sure that you're not offering a point and making sure that when that property is being appraised properly. If you are buying this home for 200,000, it needs to appraise for 200,000 or more. If it's less, don't pay the difference, man. That's what I would say. Unless you know what you're going to do with it, unless you know an exit strategy, unless you have the mindset of what you're going to do and you're going to hold it long term and it's not going to matter. That's ultimately. But what I'm talking about specifically is for first-time home buyers. You really want to understand that piece. Do not buy over the purchase price, right? It needs to be appraised at a certain price. So don't let anybody pressuring you into buying a home that is not appraised at the price you're trying to buy, because I promise you, whether it's VA, FHA, whatever, you have to pay the difference. And that should tell you right there, if the bank's not going to finance it, that's telling you right there, man. I learned a hard lesson of if the bank doesn't do something, I shouldn't do something. When you think about a cosigner or something like that, and someone needs a cosigner, there's a reason. If the bank won't finance them, there's a reason why you shouldn't finance. I'm sorry, that's just the way you have to think, because there is a legit system to this. And so, yeah, like I said, with underwater mortgages, you just want to understand that, some people they don't want to deal with it, man. They don't want to deal with it. But however, I do want to talk, hopefully I got another slide about this, and I could talk about something that you can do. That way you just don't say, forget it, and ruin your credit, right? Now, this next one is a big one. Causes for foreclosures: MUDs, PID, and HOAs. Oh my God, that has to be the biggest thing that I believe most people don't understand. Now, understand this: when there's new development and certain things have not been fully developed, for example, public services like a park, streetlights, sidewalks, where you're talking about utilities, you're talking about water, electric, all these different things. The developers are supposed to develop these type of things for you. So it's not a cost or a burden on the overall subdivision. However, a lot of builders, and I love my builders, but some of them just aren't not doing business right, or the city's not putting enough push on those developers. That's the best way I can say it. Then what they'll do is pass that cost to the new homeowners. So say you buy a house, is not getting city water, and they have to build something to provide city water out in that area, you will now have what's called a mud or pit. These particular things are developed. I'm sorry, a mud. You have a mud, which will be another utility service that needs to be created. That's an additional tax that you have to pay, right? As well as HOAs. You have to ask this question no matter what. Don't assume anything. Ask if there's an HOA on this particular property. Ask if there's an HOA in this area. You want to know for sure. Now, you will get disclosures. You will get a disclosure to disclose, hey, this particular property, 123 Main Street, is in an HOA. This is the price. These are the bylaws. This is all the information right here. Boom. However, I would say sometimes this information is buried between all the paperwork that you get when you're buying a home. You want to make sure you have a nice, knowledgeable realtor, but if you don't, for whatever reason, I don't want to talk bad about realtors. I'm not talking about because I'm a realtor myself, right? You want to ensure you just ask those questions so you can say, hey, is this an HOA? Well, let me take a look. Let me look for you. Let me find out. And then make sure they provide that, that disclosure to you. You want to make sure of this because I promise you, if you sign this document and you don't pay this HOA, you can be foreclosed on. I've seen stories where people didn't pay the first 2 months of their HOA dues. You're talking about maybe $2, $3, $4, maybe $1,000. You're getting foreclosed on over $1,000 because you didn't pay their bill. They can force, because I believe the HOA can go into first lien at that point, or they could force the foreclosure. I think they're the only ones besides taxes, of course. But this is a big one. So when you're looking at new development, or you're in a certain area that's new, I wouldn't even say new, just period. Ask about these things. Does this have a mud? Is this in a PID district? Is it an HOA? And it's literally that simple. Just make sure and verify, because this will cause a foreclosure, because this is an added expense that you will have to pay monthly. And I don't think you want to pay that, And if you choose to, you choose to, but at least And once again, I guess it goes back to what I told you when you get pre-approved for something. Don't max out what you're pre-approved for just in case something like this happens. And that's another good reason. Another good reason that I was taught was if once you move into a home, anything and everything could happen once you move in. Meaning within the first 60 to 90 days, your water heater might go out, your furnace might go out, a stove might go out, refrigerator might need to be replaced. So you want to make sure that, hey, you can move into this home comfortably and you can take care of anything because it's on you. As a homeowner, everything is on you. There's no handyman. There's no one to call. There's no leasing office. These expenses are on you. So how do we protect ourselves? We know the problem. We know what causes it, but how do we protect ourselves? The first thing, and I've already alluded to it over and over, budget and prioritize housing. Cut your extras, pay your mortgage first, make sure you're doing what you need to be doing. Make sure that you have a good idea of where your finances are going and if you can truly afford a home. Not just the principal and interest, but the taxes, the insurance. If you have any breakdowns, you want to make sure you have a nice little cushion just in case, man. So be mindful of that. Also, use a professional support early. So subject matter experts like myself, like a realtor, using a realtor that's knowledgeable, asking those questions. For most of you guys, you don't have to just call them up and say, hey, show me this house. Or even if, say, you're not ready to buy a home just yet, but you just need more information, call a realtor up. I mean, they have time. They may not want to sit there for an hour or two to sit down and talk to you, but I have no problem doing it. I know there's a lot of realtors out here that do it as well. And then as well as lenders as well. You want to sit down with every professional that is going to help you with a real estate transaction, because you need to think about you're paying for everybody. You're paying for this. Just because it's a loan doesn't mean anything. You have to repay it back. No, you're paying for these closing costs. Ensure everyone is working for you. So you get a list of questions. Go on ChatGPT. Generate a list of frequently asked questions. Do all those great things so you understand, hey, this is what it is. And you can have all your questions answered before you even go into the home buying process. Now, you get into foreclosure, what do? you need to communicate early to that financial institution, your lender, the credit union, whoever. You need to do that ASAP. Don't wait, right? You can explore loan options. You could refinance the mortgage. You could modify your loan. I've heard of, whatever missed payments you've done, they could package that into a loan or package that up a certain way and put at the end of your mortgage, which that does cost you more over the life of the loan, of course. But there's options, right? Forbearance, there's a bunch of different options, but you won't know those options if you don't pick up the phone or you ignore the letters. You want to make sure that you're doing what you need to be doing, right? Also, know your rights. Know your rights. Understand that you own that home all the way until the last day of auction. So what can you do? You can, one, when you're in mortgage foreclosure, try to catch up your payments. Two, you can communicate with your lender. Get with your lender and talk to them and find out what are your options. I can't go over every option because every lender is different, right? But that's what you want to do, pick up your phone. Sometimes it's not as bad as you think it's going to be. Maybe an easy fix just to get you caught up and get you back going again, right? Sell your property. That's another big thing. Sell your property before it goes to auction. That's something you can do as well. If you have equity in your home, you don't want to lose it by allowing the bank who has no selling experience to list it at an auction. All they want is their money back. That's it. What's owed is what they want back. But you may have $50,000 in equity. You may have $100,000 in equity. You may owe the bank 50, 60, 100,000. That's all they're going to want back. That's the starting bid. And if it sells for that, it sells for that. Now, if it sells over, you have to go to court for that difference. Speak to an attorney about that. You want to understand that if there's a difference from what is owed and what is gained after the auction, if there's more than what was, owed to the bank, you have to do something. So make sure you get the lawyer. The lawyer, they'll tell you your options so you can go ahead and recoup those funds. But like I said, it's not always happening like that. So you want to understand that you can sell the home. You want to put on the market as quickly as possible, and you want to try to cash out on your equity without losing it, right? The other thing you could do is what's called a short sale. Now, a short sale requires you to, again, talk to your lender. Allow them to let you know if they'll allow less than what the market value is on your property. So a great example, you have a property, it's $100,000, you owe $100,000. Instead of this foreclosure hitting your credit and all these bad things and having a huge difference, you can talk to the bank, see if they're willing to do a short sale of maybe $70,000, $80,000, and they're okay with losing that difference. That's something you want to look into, and getting with the realtor can allow you quick, fast knowledge on how to get that done. So all these different things can happen in a timely fashion. I think the biggest piece is communication and ensuring that you're talking to the right people and not waiting until the last moment. I believe that has to be the biggest thing. So many people are scared to ask the question. Just ask the question. There's no embarrassing question. I think it goes back to grade school when we were scared to raise our hand. I promise you, I raised my hand for the most dumb. I think everyone probably knows it. But on the other hand, after I get done asking that question and I leave the room, I find out everybody had the exact same question. So be confident. Understand this is this is the biggest expense of everyone's life, majority of everyone's life. Protect it and don't lose it because you're scared to have that conversation. It's not embarrassing. It happens to a lot of different people. It happens to a lot of people. It's happened to my family. It's happened to myself. You don't want to just, lose everything that you worked your butt off for because you don't want to pick up a phone. So resources and assistance, what can you do? What resources are out there? Now, I have a bunch of different resources, and I would say this first. Talk to your city rep. Your city rep is plugged in with so many different resources, so many different tools, so many different nonprofits that they may have something that's not even publicly marketed correctly, right? I'm not even gonna say correctly, just not marketed like some of these bigger resources. So get with your city rep, email them, ask them, and let them know, hey, this is what's going on with me, and see if they have any options for you. Now, Another one we have is what's called HUD approved housing counseling agencies. It's free to low cost, and it's a low cost help for budgeting, loan modifications, and lender communication. This is easy for you. Just Google that, HUD approved housing counseling agencies, and then just give them a call. See what resources they can offer. See what help they can do with budgeting if you don't understand what budgeting is, loan modifications, etc. Of course, it's like I told you, nonprofit offering financial literacy classes. Your banks, credit unions, they may offer some sort of financial literacy class. I'm offering literacy class. Go on Meetup, go on Facebook groups, go to Nextdoor apps, and Google resources for foreclosures, budgeting classes, basic financial information, and go to those classes. Utilize those resources. They're there for you. The next one I would say local El Paso resource. So you're talking about a legal aid. So we're talking about going down to the city council, not even the city council building, that big glass courthouse building. Go in there, go talk to every department until you find out what you need. They have a legal department, legal library in there as well. So, I would utilize that as well. So the housing support programs, community development groups, and the way I would just use this resource, I would Google each one. Local El Paso resource legal aids, local El Paso resource community development groups, and see what comes up. And now I'm cold calling each one, vetting them, of course, because most of us we will do that part. We'll Google it, right? But we will click on the first link and not research, because remember, you're still giving your personal information out. You're giving a lot of private information. So ensure that they're legitimate. Ensure that they have been vetted. Make sure you do B reviews, Google reviews. And, I would say really, if you can get into those groups where you can find similar people in the same situation that you were, or they were in that situation, ask them what resources they've used. Those are real testimonials of companies that you can utilize. And then I would say the last thing, of course, like I told you earlier, professional guidance. Can't say it enough. Use a realtor, use a lender, a legal professional, lawyer. Sit down. Usually that first hour is free anyway. So if you get to the point, make sure they don't drag it out. You don't have to pay anything, right? It's with the realtor, there's no fee. At least for me, there's no fee. If you have a question, reach out, find out what can happen. Now, I tell you, when you're going through foreclosures, you're going to get a lot of phone calls because your name will end up on a list somewhere in public records that your house is going through foreclosure. You'll get a lot of calls from what's called wholesalers, people who will offer you a cash value price for your home. And you say, how does that work? Well, I'm telling you how it works. They're going to legitimately give you a low ball offer. They might try to force you to do a short sale, or like I said, they'll find out what you owe and they'll pay what you owe and they try to take possession of it, and then they'll sell on the back end. Normally what they're doing, like I said, you own it all the way to foreclosure. They'll just do what's called subject to, where they'll write up a contract. You're signing it basically over to them. They're putting down some earnest money saying, hey, we're going to go through with this. And then they're going to sell that contract to a developer or to an investor. And then that's how they get their money. I got someone coming in. I'll be right back. Hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
Hey, good. You doing?
Good.
Michael.
Michael, nice to meet you. This house is $220,000. It is a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom. The 3 bedrooms are all here. So the master as well as secondary bedrooms are in here. It's 2,194 square feet. There's a swimming pool in the back. A lot of the pool equipment is going to stay here.
Swimming pool?
It's a swimming pool in the back. You like a swimming pool?
I just own once house with the swimming pool. It's a nightmare.
Oh.
Yeah, the maintenance is like, my God.
Are you physically cleaning it out and maintaining it yourself?
Yeah, that time I used to have like 4 kids, But actually, it was a bad friend.
Oh,
Experience.
man. I should have saved that to the end.
Yeah, but it depends. Many people like swimming pool. I like swimming pool, but the thing is, the maintenance is
Yeah,
It's hard to.
I've noticed that as well with this, because you can see it now, it's getting maintained. I would say with the house, though, the landscaping is done, it's shed back here, everything's staying. This right here is an additional structure that was added to the property. It is a little warm in here, I'm not gonna lie. So, put a mini split or something in here, and keep it nice and cool, but it's additional room.
What is this used for? Why do you space?
This space is housed in personal equipment, so the food equipment's in here, the water filter's in here as well. So that's really.
I like this one like a greenhouse.
Yes, that's what it could be. It could be that. Additionally, the previous owners, photographers, so they had a dark room. So in the garage, it's like an additional room we have in storage.
So it's not like garage to next to house.
Two organized, one motor at the very top and another one has everything set for the one car garage.
Yeah. Oh, the kitchen is huge.
Yes, there's only one owner owns the house.
Already.
Yes, and this is literally, we're working with 80% of work. Everything else is original to the house. Oh. This is huge.
So it's a training.
220. 220. They are open to offer, so of course, if you have anything else you want to put in. All the appliances, the refrigerator, everything stand, pool equipment stand. Central air is pretty decent. It was 80 degrees when I got here. It's about 45 minutes to cool the whole house down. So
Instead of the refrigerator air or
refrigerator here, central heating, and the water heaters over here as well. Water heater. Still getting information on this stuff. Yeah, all this stuff. Have you been looking long for a room?
the thing is, I already have a seller.
Okay.
And so just stop it, use something. Often, if you like something, let me know.
That's fair.
Yeah. I think this house is like, it's a little bit of like a more,
Updates.
Yeah, updates.
Yes. I've been getting that from everybody that comes in.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's the original owner. He's about like 60, 70 years old. So this is how I went. Bought it. The fireplace is original as well. I mean, most homes you have to let.
Is gas or?
No, actual wood.
Wood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This.
Let me look.
Oh yeah, the bedroom is nice to the right. This is your primary bedroom. Two right here.
Is it master?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah, this is nice.
They get to the bathroom here. Are you from on this side of town or are you going?
Oh, we live in there, please.
Where's the
We are actually here on Thompson in the higher. Let me see the swimming pool. It's a big.
Yeah, it's pretty big. It's 5 feet deep. You can go through here.
That's not big. What is the exit?
This is the exit. Also go through here as well.
I like the water.
I do too.
So,
Yeah,
that's really nice.
Yeah, that's really work at all.
Yeah, man. Replacing, replace the old thing for a year. I mean, a lot of things, The color, the paint,
Yeah.
a lot of paint, a lot of things. Replace the refrigerator, stove, It's nice, This is a nice house. It's having committed to do some improvements. The place, the lights,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, but it's nice. The size is perfect. It's really, really nice.
I think for the price, it's well for the side of the home, we get a lot. We get a lot for the side of the
Yeah.
home. Because if this was the east side, you know what I'm saying?
I like east side. I like west side.
Yeah, yeah.
I like this area because it's totally calm.
It's calm, it's slow. Yeah, it's just.
Yes. Can I have one of the papers? The pamphlets or something you have?
I don't have any flyers
No?
specifically
Okay.
for this house. However, here's my business card. You send me a text, I can shoot you over the information to it.
Okay.
And then we have all the information for the house.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Michael, right?
Yes.
Thank you, Michael.
Nice to meet you.
I appreciate it, okay?
Thank you. Nice to meet you. Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. I'm gonna have to pop smoke here in a minute. So let me finish this last piece. So this one right here is gonna be my last slide. Let's see. So I won't go too deep because I'm already running late. Why is it flipping? Why is it flipping? Okay. Why is it doing that? Okay. So the role of a realtor, like I said, support on selling before foreclosure. A realtor can explain you the selling options. Like I told you, they can sit down and handle the paperwork. So if you're going through something and you're frantic about what to do, hey, let's systemize, let's figure it out, let's break this elephant into chunks. That's the best way to get through anything. Just break it down into chunks, right? Guidance with the short sales. This is a little bit more information, right? Your realtor can help you with this. Get on the phone with your financial institution, of course with you as well, give them permission and hopefully able to negotiate some sort of, monetary value for your property at that moment. Once again, I don't want to see you lose a home and you have equity in it. Like I said, I've been doing a foreclosure auction for a while now, going and attending, researching the properties, and I promise you there's a lot of homes that have a lot of equity and they're losing it. And I don't know why. Besides, they just don't know. Market knowledge to find quicker solutions. That's the other thing a realtor can do. Give you real good market analysis on the property. It goes back to maybe a CMA, comparable market analysis, finding out how much your home is worth versus how much you owe, what that equity piece looks like. Do you have an option to rent the property out? Let's catch the mortgage up. Let's put it on the market to rent. Come up with some creative ideas on how to keep your home, and turn this, sour situation into something a little bit better, and then connecting clients with trusted resources. That's the biggest thing that I value the most is having resources available. And if I don't have a resource available, finding that resource for you, like I said, when you're going through these type of situations with foreclosures, it does become frustrating, upset, disappointing, embarrassing, to the point most people shut down. Find that realtor that's going to help you out and do all this for you. Get you all those, bring everything together to help you make a sound decision and take the emotions out of it, of course, because it is your home, and I get that it's going to be emotional. But for at least just 2 days, 3 days, if you can get a realtor, put everything together for you, you can have some sound options. Like this could be decision 1, 2, and 3, and now we can make some real decisions, right? Now, this will be where my question and answers will be, my link, all the different things that I do, my Facebook group. I got a Facebook group, trying to grow that and, like I said, be a a wealth of knowledge. That's the goal. But if you want to know more, you want to hear more, what I just told you was the gist of everything that I'm going to be discussing. As you guys can see, I don't know if you can see it from here. Look at that. It says Michael Clark, learning starts here. It starts with me, man. It starts with you. You know, pass this information to the next person. Don't, just because you know it, I promise you someone else doesn't know it. You know, this information wasn't readily available for everybody. And, you know, the more information we could pass out to people, the better. And the more information we could put in our tool belt, the better, right? So I appreciate the time that y'all came to come on. I'm sorry I had a potential client come in. They had an agent. I can't even say potential client, customer. So came in, had an agent. But yeah, it's my life. So I'm finna get going. I will meet you guys at the library. Remember, it's 501, I believe 501 North Oregon Street, El Paso, Texas. So meet me there. It's from 3 to 5 p.m. Maybe shorter than that. As you guys can see, it only takes about 30 minutes, 40 minutes to go through this presentation in detail. And then from there, most of the time, I just want to do more questions and answers. I haven't had anybody RSVP, just to be honest. So I might have a little bit more time just to go back through this in detail. I'm still going to go there regardless if anyone's there or if it's fully booked. I'm going to do it regardless, and I'm going to record it so at least I can push the content out. However, if you have any questions, comments, you want to get in touch with me, definitely use my links. Go on my website. You'll have all of my links, including my LinkedIn account, everything else you guys can reach me at. You can email me, but my website is www.keysandknowledge. It's and spell the and out, keysandknowledge.com, and you'll have all my information. If you want to set up a consultation, to sell, to buy, if you want more information about foreclosures, I do one-on-one consultations. That is a fee for that because that is a lot of information. But other than that, that's all I have for you. I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on. Peace.